This is TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and the State of the Saints podcast is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Over 2 million men worldwide choose Manscaped for all their below-the-waist needs. For those that love the Lawnmower 3.0, well, I got news for you. The Manscaped engineering team has confirmed that they have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. The new trimmer even allows you to customize your trim all through additional guards lengths, sizes 1 through 4. And looks-wise, it's sleek with a two-tone matte and gloss finish, even features a hot foil stamp, black chrome Manscaped logo. Show your mower off loud and proud. Go to manscaped.com, use the promo code State of Saints, and you will save 20% off of the Lawnmower 4.0 as well as other Manscaped items. That's manscaped.com. Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is your truly TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you very much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. And I want to thank you to everybody that bared with me. I know I was supposed to start the show a little bit early, actually doing the show around 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Thank you to everybody that bear with me. I was actually waiting for my wife to get off work in order for me to start the podcast. So now that we got it all started, now it's time for us to talk about New Orleans Saints football. And on this edition, we're going to be talking about wide receiver Kenny Stills. The Saints are reuniting with Kenny Stills, and does it feel so good? And we also going to be talking about Bradley Roby, the new cornerback of the New Orleans Saints via trade, and what he had to say about learning that he signed or the Saints traded for him. But thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you all so much. Thank you for everybody that has, supported the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you to everybody that checked out the 2 interviews I did on the last edition. John DeShazer of NewOrleansSaints.com, and also a good friend of mine, Brian McFadden, the former Pittsburgh Steelers cornerback, 2-time Super Bowl winning champion, and also a contributor to CBS Sports. And he also has a podcast with Patrick Peterson called All Things Covered, and I encourage you all to check it out. They have some amazing guests on that show, so shouts out to them. And on tomorrow, we're going to have Ross Jackson on the State of the Saints podcast, and on Friday, we're going to have my guy Mike Ricks. You probably remember him when I was doing a show called the NFC South versus NFL. He was the Carolina Panthers contributor. So we're going to be talking to him about the big matchup in week 2 versus the Carolina Panthers. But let's go ahead and talk about Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills, we know a lot about him. He came out of Oklahoma back in the day. A couple years back, he was drafted by the New Orleans Saints in the 4th round. And he was pretty good for the New Orleans Saints, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I like Kenny Stills a lot. Apparently, there was some issues in the locker room. He was one of those guys that, wasn't a really good locker room guy. So the Saints ended up trading him to the Miami Dolphins, and he ended up getting traded to the Houston Texans. And now he's back with the New Orleans Saints. And people have mixed emotions about this in the Who Dat Nation. When I ask people about Kenny Stills, some people are like, I'm glad that he's back. Some people are like, Is he going to be a troublemaker? Look, I like the Kenny Stills addition to the New Orleans Saints. I like the fact that they signed him. I think that Kenny Stills brings something to the table. And I also think that there's a lot of leadership inside of the Saints locker room to a point where I feel like he won't affect the locker room. I just think that back in the day, Kenny Stills, he had a voice in the locker room because the Saints weren't very good during the time he was there. There was some dark ages over those last 2 to 3 years when Kenny Stills was here. The Saints were putting up big numbers, and yes, they were formidable, but they weren't making the playoffs. And I think it is different. I think it's different when you're not making the playoffs. You have those voices in the locker room. You probably have the captains with the C on their chest. But when things go wrong, people are always feeling like I have the answers. I know why it's going wrong. And when it's going right, those captains that are in place, they seem like, they are the guys that you need to lean on. And I think that with Kenny Stills coming back into this locker room, it's going to be completely different. And I think that Sean Payton likes Kenny Stills because if he didn't, I don't think Kenny Stills would be on the team. It's not like Junior Gillette, who I feel like is the Eddie Kane of the New Orleans Saints, because if you follow Junior Gillette on social media, on Twitter, he's always trying to downplay the Saints, and he's always talking about Sean Payton signed me. It's not that type of desperation. Kenny Stills is a guy that I feel like Sean Payton likes. He's a guy that runs crisp routes. He's a guy that you can lean on in third down situations. And quite frankly, I feel like Kenny Stills was that guy once Lance Moore left the New Orleans Saints, and I think he went to the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Kenny Stills can add something to the Saints. He gives veteran leadership. He was a captain on the Miami Dolphins team. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of people like Kenny Stills, in the NFL. And, some people have their reservation about Kenny Stills because, he's really close to Colin Kaepernick. I don't think that has anything to do with what he can bring to the field. I think that people need to leave their political agendas to the side and look at the fact that this guy can actually bring something to the team that can be beneficial to the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints really need something right now. I mean, Michael Thomas isn't going to come back until after week 6 at least. And what I've seen from the Green Bay Packers game, yes, the Saints dominated. Yes, the Saints beat them into submission, but I really didn't see that much out of the wide receiver group. Like Marquez Callaway, I understand that he was on Jair Alexander, but you didn't have anybody like Lil Jordan Humphrey making plays. Deontay Harris made a play late, and also he had that deep out, earlier in the game, but most of the plays were from the tight ends and Alvin Kamara. So a guy that's a seasoned veteran that can come in, that understands the Saints system, that understands what Sean Payton is expecting of him, I feel like this would be a great addition to the New Orleans Saints. And I think that he would be a great fit because he knows what Sean Payton wants. And, I don't have a problem with Kenny Stills at all. I've wanted the Saints to sign him back in the day when I want to say he went to the Buffalo Bills, if I'm not mistaken. So I wanted the Saints to sign him even back then. I think that he will be a great addition to the team because the Saints have been missing that third down guy. And I think when Michael Thomas comes back and Traquan Smith comes back, you'll have that guy that serves in that Willie Snead / Lance Moore role that can help the New Orleans Saints keep drives alive. So I like the addition of Kenny Stills. I don't know about you all. I understand he's going to sign to the practice squad, but I just think that there's just a minor adjustment until they get him acclimated to the offensive playbook, and then they're probably going to put him out on the field because I really think that he has something to offer. But I want to say thank you all. Appreciate it. And about to go ahead and get started reading some of these comments here. We're going to start with Dennis. Dennis says he was the best receiver on the Dolphins when he was there. I don't want to say he was the best wide receiver on there. I think Devontae Parker was a better wide receiver than he was. Devontae Parker had some issues with injuries, but Devontae Parker has always been a really good receiver. Now, I would say he was the second best receiver on the team. And my guy Rashard Matthews, when he was there, he probably was like the third. And also, when Ramsey, not Ramsey, but Jarvis Landry, when Jarvis Landry was there, he was really good for them as well. So, I mean, they had a really formidable wide receiver group. The only issue was they didn't have the quarterback. They had Chad Henne at that time, and he threw like he was on that Henne. So it wasn't like they had a bunch of guys, a quarterback that could get these guys the ball. And then Ryan Tannehill, who they drafted out of Texas A&M, he was always hurt, and he's not the Ryan Tannehill that's formidable out there in Tennessee. So they had a lot of talent on the Miami Dolphins team at the wide receiver group. They just didn't have somebody that can get them the football. And Ray says, anyone seen the kid reaction after Deontay Harris bombed? Yeah, the kid that had the color rush Michael Thomas jersey on when he had his hands on his face, Macaulay Culkin style. Yeah, I seen that, man. And I think that a lot of members of the Who Dat Nation probably felt the same way as that kid, because it was something that we did not see in a very long time. And that's the deep ball down the field. And it gets you excited and it gets you hyped. And the fact that Jameis Winston, where people had so many questions about him, and people were talking about 30 for 30, and people were talking about what he did in Tampa, and then he goes out there and throws 5 touchdowns. You have to be optimistic. And I think for this week, Jameis Winston has changed the minds of a lot of people. So I echo the sentiments of that kid, because I felt the same way. Don't go to Keen Arthur. Thank you very much for the $5. Says TJ, shout out to Marcus Spears, Chris Bouchard, and Ankh Shay. They were 3 of the very few media heads to give the Saints full credit for that beatdown. Yeah, man, shouts out to him, man. Marcus Spears has been, really adamant about the Saints being a good football team. Ryan Clark is another guy. Ryan Clark is another guy that said that he felt like Drew Brees was holding the team back. And I think that we need to have this conversation. Probably going to be at length at another show. But I think that we need to understand and really come to grips at the fact that Jameis Winston makes the Saints a little bit more of a threat in the NFL and in the NFC because of his ability to throw the ball down the field, scramble when need be, and make all the throws. Teams can no longer just sit at the line of scrimmage and play man-to-man coverage and just say, hey, the Saints can't throw it over our head. So what are we going to like? They don't know what to do. We know what to do. They can't do that anymore because now the New Orleans Saints have a quarterback that has the ability to throw the ball down the field. If you line up in a certain formation with the cover 2, or like you put your linebackers back, cover 6, something like that. You have the running back that can be able to slash and and make things happen, in the running game. So the Saints have the best of both worlds right now. They really do. And Drew Brees was extremely efficient. Don't get me wrong. Drew Brees was extremely efficient, and he did a really good job. But nobody feared Drew Brees the last 3 to 4 years. Like, I feel like if Jameis gets everything together, how teams would fear him. Because you have to respect the fact that he can get the ball down the field. So there's that big nugget right there. Sup, TJ Tro, what's going on? JJ says Sean Payton knows what he's doing. Absolutely. I've been saying that for I don't know how long. I've told people, trust Sean Payton. I trust Sean Payton. For some apparent reason, people went into this season like, I don't know. I've said this before. Sean Payton is the best play caller, or one of the best play callers in the NFL. And he's put together, him along with Mickey Loomis, one of the best coaching staffs in football. And they've gotten some really good players that are really smart, really instinctive, and they play together. And not only that, they got really high character guys. That's kind of hard to do, man. But they got it. And I respect the hell out of it. William says, hope he does good and be a team player and not a hater. Well, I think he will, William. You know, it's not like how it was back in the day when he was here. I just feel like they had people that a lot of chiefs, and you know, nobody wanted to be an Indian. You know, everybody wanted to be a leader. Because, like I said, when things go wrong, people are always trying to figure out what went wrong. Like, what happened? Like, why did this happen? Like, man, like they don't know what they're doing, man. I can tell you. But with this team, they created a winning culture. They know who the leaders are, and they're well respected, and people like them, and people listen to them. Kenny Stills won't be able to come in here and be like, okay, man, this is what I'm going to do. Man, you're going to get tossed up out of here, because there's a culture in New Orleans, and people understand what the culture is, and they don't need any outside forces trying to influence anybody. And I feel like if that was to happen, then he probably would be on his way out. And being at the age of 29, when you start to hit that 29, 30 range as a wide receiver, you might want to kind of, you know, fall in line, because, you know, there's that 21, 22-year-old wide receiver coming out of college right now that can easily take your place. So Tyrus giving a shout out to Chemo, say, hey fam, who that baby? Stroll down a little bit. Jerry giving a shout out to Keen Arthur. Some pleasantries. Shouts out to everybody in the chat. Keen Arthur also said, TJ, can we expect more touches from Jones Jr., or do you expect Callaway to see more looks this week? Well, I feel like when you're the number one receiver as of right now, and I'm talking Callaway, Keen Arthur, you're going to get a lot of attention. So you might get on Dante Jackson, or you might get on JC Horn. So he's going to get those number one receiver looks, but I think that he is going to get some targets. You know, I just think that it was just a respect for Jair Alexander. And just like if a team has a choice of going towards Marshawn Lattimore or Paulson Adebo, they're probably going to go at Paulson Adebo. It's the same way with the Green Bay Packers. I mean, would you go at Jair Alexander, who has proven that he can be a man-to-man corner that is really, really good? Or would you go at Kenny King, who has shown you some 2018 Ken Crawley type tendencies? I'm going to go at Kenny King, because Kenny King is a guy that I feel like I can make some plays on. So I think it's the same way. I think you're going to see Marquez Callaway. I think the Saints are going to kind of mix it up, because I really feel like the wide receivers really need to get involved. I like how Jameis is getting the tight ends involved, but it's only a matter of time before teams start to try to scheme against Troutman and Johnson, okay? And they're going to want those wide receivers to go out there and try to make some plays. So I expect Sean Payton to look at that and try to scheme so some of these wide receivers can get open. I liked how they used the tight ends. It's good to see that Johnson and Troutman were being used heavily in the last matchup, but I would like to see some of these receivers get involved. I think that you're going to see Callaway get more involved in the game, and also Lil Jordan Humphrey. So I think, and also Deontay Harris. I think you're going to see Deontay Harris make some plays as well, because he's a very dynamic player. Swag Fan says he was younger then. He's more mature now, hopefully. Well, look, I think that when you come into the league, you got some veterans inside of the locker room. Some guys give you really good advice, make you better as a pro. But then there's some guys that have some vices that you may not need to follow. And I think when Kenny Stills came into the Saints locker room, the Saints didn't really have a winning culture as they had over the last 3 to 4 years. They didn't have the leadership that they had over the last 3 to 4 years. And, you know, I think that with Kenny Stills coming into the locker room, there's a lot of guys that are sure of themselves, that are sure leaders. If he gets out of line, they're going to make sure that he falls back in. And if he doesn't, then that's on him. You know, that's on him if he doesn't. So it is what it is. I mean, like I said, he's 29 years old. You don't know how many opportunities you're going to get, but I don't think that it's going to be an issue, in my opinion. Best Saints community right here, y'all. I agree. You know, like, no disrespect to nobody else's podcast, but I really think that we have one of the best communities. And I was talking to my mom today, and she was talking about that. She was talking about how family oriented the State of the Saints podcast community is, because it is. I think that it's so close knit. The fact that I for the most part, I know everybody that falls into the chat. Because we developed a virtual relationship. To a point where everybody's been here. Everybody puts their 2 cents in, and they are a key component to what we do here on the State of the Saints podcast. So I absolutely agree, Dennis. Thank you. Tragic says, I like steals. It's just an example of we sacrifice good talent to appease Breeze's deficiencies. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But Tragic, a lot of teams do this. If you have a quarter, because, okay, let me backtrack. A lot of teams do this because they understand how rare it is for you to have an elite quarterback. It is very hard for teams to find elite quarterbacks and also to continue to maintain that level of success year in, year out. So if you have that quarterback that can get you that type of success, then you try to hold on to it, and you also put pieces around him in order to help him succeed. So yes, there were a lot of times where the Saints would go out here, instead of them getting burners, they would go get guys that were Chris route runners, guys that were fundamentally sound, like guys that can go out there, that can run the route tree and also catch passes really well, because they understood that these guys have to win their matchups in man-to-man coverage, and they have to be able to run Chris routes in order for Drew Brees to have a really good season. Now you have a guy like Jameis Winston who can make all his throws. You can go out there and be a tad bit aggressive. You can go out there and get a guy who has some speed, a guy that's a burner, because now you have a guy that can get the ball down the field and catch a pass, and you don't have to worry about, can Jameis get the ball to him? And there's no disrespect to Drew Brees. Some people get mad at this. I don't understand why people get mad at something that is true. I just don't. Like, it's not like anybody's bad mouthing Drew Brees. Drew Brees is incredible, the greatest New Orleans Saint of all time. But if you're being a realist, you have to come to grips and say he could not get the ball down the field. And that's not blasphemy, because it's true. He could not. And the Saints did everything that they could to put a team around him to make up for his deficiencies. But now you have a guy that can make all the throws, and I just feel like it makes the Saints a little bit more dangerous and makes them a contender, Brandon says, it'll be interesting to see what the offense will look like going forward, especially when Thomas gets back. Yeah. Look, I like the fact that they put emphasis on the run. I was a little bit concerned. I was like, man, are they going to run the football, or is Sean Payton going to be excited? Oh, I got Jameis and he can throw the ball down the field. So I was a little bit nervous because I didn't know what direction that Sean was going to go in. But now that I see that they're putting emphasis on the run to set up the play action pass and the deep passes down the field, I'm okay with that. So it would be good to see what Michael Thomas is going to do when he get back, or when the Saints are at full strength. But the fact that a team is at full strength in the middle of the season, that's wishful thinking. Guys are going to get hurt. There's almost close to 100% probability that you're not going to start the season with in the season with the same guys that you had at the beginning. So if Michael Thomas comes back, I would be interested to see how he and Jameis would be able to, develop chemistry-wise. Let me scroll down a little bit, folks. Let's go to Pammy. Pammy says, and we try to be disrespectful in our chats unless you come here with some nonsense. Yeah, we try to be respectful. You know what I'm saying? We do. We try to be respectful. And you know what I'm saying? That's something that I want. I'm no disrespect to anybody's show once again, but I try to keep it as clean as possible. I don't want to look. I understand that young kids watch this show, older kids watch this show, but it makes me feel good that my niece, when I see her on FaceTime, she's like, Uncle Timmy, I seen your show and I liked it. And, like it makes me feel good. When, I'm saying, I go back home, I see, kids at my mom's center, Safe Haven Learning Center, and they see me and they like, oh, I like that and I want to start a podcast too. It makes me feel good because, I want them to, look at me as an example, you know what I'm saying? And I understand that, I am a role model to those kids. And it made me realize that when I went home last time. So I don't want them to see me on there, being mad, disrespectful, cussing and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? You'll probably let, a curse word out or two, but nothing like too egregious. But I like this type of atmosphere. I like this type of environment. And I like the fact that young and old can check out the State of the Saints podcast and don't have to worry about lowering the volume. Jarvis says, T, you hit the like button. Yeah, man, please hit the like button if you like the State of the Saints podcast. I would really appreciate that. Let me see. Peyton Winston equals success. DA plus Chris Richard equals shutdown defense. I'm telling you, Stills will be a factor in our offense. His excitement to be here speaks volumes. Both him and Roby is excited. Yeah, two Texans, two Houston Texan players right there. Yeah, you come from the Texans to the Saints, I'll be excited too. Jarvis says, where's your super chat? It should be down there, man. Down below the chat, should see a $sign and should be able to donate there. As I enter in, shouts out to Tyra. King Arthur, amen. Let me say too that Kyle Hurd is the worst. Man, those guys are good at what they do. I will say this, if you like shock value and you're just trying to get people up in arms, they do a really good job at that. I just try not to, I try to be as genuine as possible. Like if I'm in that mood to really just, be animated and stuff like that, I don't really like look in the mirror and be like, okay, I'm gonna be animated today. That's their style. But the only problem that I have as far as being a broadcaster is the fact that I feel a lot of people who start podcasts feel like that's the route to go. I look at a lot of podcasts of guys that starting out and they'll have this brash, arrogant type disposition about themselves. They'll take calls. They'll disrespect the callers. They'll be like, oh, man, you don't know what you're talking about, try to make themselves feel like they're superior. I don't feel like that's the route to go. I feel like you can get your point across. You can still create great content and at the same time still respect the people that are on the opposite side of the mic. I feel like that's the way to go. But I just feel like there's this cult following of podcasters out there that feel like that is the way to become successful. I don't think so. I'd rather be successful and be able to sleep at night. Greg says, sorry, I'm late. Hey, TJ. Chemo says they want us to go away so bad. Sean Payton refuses to let that happen. I agree with that. He's a really good coach, man. Shouts out to Sean Payton. Hit that like button. I definitely agree with that. Kenny Stills, opposite of Callaway, is going to be sick. Yeah, be sick, man. And when Michael Thomas come back, you got yourself a really good slot receiver right there. Keen Arthur, thank you very much for the $5. Said TJ, prior to the bye, I thought the only L we would possibly take is Green Bay, but now I feel like we'll be undefeated going into the bye. Well, I like that optimism, but as long as the Saints stay on a straight and narrow road, as long as they are fundamentally sound, they'll be just fine. But I don't want them to be looking at their press clippings and end up slipping up. I think that would be a recipe for disaster. But as long as they do that, I think they'll be definitely, close to being undefeated, because I don't think there's a lot of teams in the league that can be able to go match up with them. Something that is true. Let's see. Let Breeze come back as quarterback coach. I think the Saints are okay, man. I think they're okay. Stephen A. Smith makes my scalp itch. Well, Stephen A. Smith is good at what he does too. He's a guy that, he's entertaining. He's a guy that is found a lane, and ESPN likes it. You got audience members like it, but not a fan of it. I think, look, everybody had like, I have an issue with other people's lane and they try to fall in it. Like, just be yourself, because it's so hard to be something other than yourself. So if you like sports, right? I don't feel like you need to look at the State of the Saints podcast and be like, okay, I'm gonna run my show just like that. Like, I feel like if you're good at what you do, yeah, you know what I'm saying, do research on other podcasts, but also just, you know what I'm saying, find something that's suitable for you. Because if you don't, then people are not going to continue to follow you, because people can smell a phony a mile away. You know, with Stephen A. Smith, I just think that he's extremely entertaining. He's extremely arrogant. He's egotistical. I'm not going to lie about that. But one thing that he does like extremely well is, you know, he uses those big words, and and he's reached the point of almost being an elitist at ESPN. So nobody's going to say anything to him. Dennis, thank you very much for the $5. Says, TJ, do you think Steelers plays versus the Panthers? No, I do not. I think it'll take him a couple weeks in order for him to kind of get acclimated to the offense. Greg, thank you very much for $5. Says, I'm not disrespected. It's not disrespect to Drew Brees. We were loyal to Drew. He was loyal to us. We be loyal to Jameis. Another championship before you know it. Well, I hope so. You know, I hope that we are able to find a championship. You know, I think that Jameis Winston, as long as he maintains this level of quarterback play, he limits the interceptions. I think anybody that's expecting Jameis Winston to not throw an interception in the Saints uniform, I think that's just wishful thinking. I think it's going to happen. But what I do want is just for him to be efficient and not have so many interceptions. And if week one was an indication of what's to come, I think he'll be just fine. Y'all and TJ doesn't curse. Can watch this with the whole family, no problem. Well, you know, I mean, I'll let one go every now and then, you know, if it's warranted or, you know, but it's not like I just look to do that. And I'm not dissing anybody. You know, like if that's your lane, that's your podcast, fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't curse. You know what I'm saying? Like that's your lane. But as for me, you know, I like that family dynamic. Like I like the fact that if you're a parent and you're taking your kids to school and you didn't check out the show that I did the day before, and you're like, okay, I got a little commute, I'm gonna listen to TJ. Your kids, you can drop them off at school and you can still listen to the State of the Saints podcast. I like that. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in. Shouts out to Whitney W. I don't know if that's the Whitney W. I know that I went to Dilla with it, but if it is, shouts out to you, Whitney. Shouts out to you. Appreciate the love. I don't know if that's you or not, but I knew a Whitney W back in the day. 80s Rewind, the times to the 90s says, love the linebacker tandem of Davis and Alexander. Great 1-2 punch. Yeah, you know, I mean, Quan Alexander has always been a really good linebacker. The only reason he hasn't stuck with one team is because of the injuries, which, I mean, he's on the injury list right now because I think he has an injured hand. So that's something that really kept Quan from being an elite linebacker. But yeah, him and Demario Davis, they're really good together. Dude, it's amazing to me how much depth we have, and I like the people like Kyle Hurd constantly overlooking us and then jump on the bandwagon by week 8. Well, look, that's just the way that they operate. I don't care about Kyle Hurd. This guy is extremely successful between ESPN, Fox Sports. I mean, he has his following. People like him, you know, but, you know, he's not he's not Nostradamus or anything like that, you know. Stroll down a little bit more. Apologize if I miss anybody's comments. I'm just trying to keep up with the comments and theme. Tyra, if you the hot like button, I will. Well, I don't know exactly what that means. Drew says, hit himself. We've been missing vertically in our offense. Well, CD Crusher, I think he was joking with that, but a lot of people felt that way. And that just shows you that Drew knows what people have been saying the whole time. He just kind of, you know, put it into his subconscious. Look, the team got better. Drew arm got weaker. It happens, football life. Yeah, I mean, look, the team was good as far as a leadership standpoint with Drew. I mean, you can't deny Drew Brees was the greatest leader New Orleans Saints ever had, greatest quarterback the New Orleans Saints ever had. But like you said, Father Time is undefeated. It's no disrespect to Drew. I mean, it was just time for a change. Hey TJ, been hitting hard up to 238 solid, all muscle. How you been, big dog? Man, I've been good, man. Been working out still. Man. I mean, I've been, doing my thing, still since got back from Puerto Rico. So I mean, I'm still on that path, man. Gotta stay on it. Gotta stay healthy. TJ, is Pete Warner going to play this week, and will Peyton Turner get the opportunity to steal some of Davenport's snaps? King Arthur, I talked to John DeShazer on the last edition of the State of the Saints podcast, and he said it's a strong possibility that he might end up playing. He said he was a healthy scratch last week, so I just think that it was the fact that he needed to get acclimated to the defense. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see him come back. If we're talking about Peyton Turner, Peyton Turner, we'll see him. We should see him week 2 versus Carolina. I don't see no reason why we shouldn't. Me and my 4-year-old watching the show right now. Yeah, Ray, I appreciate that. Shouts out to you and your 4-year-old. Jarvis says, I've been slacking after football. I got to get back on it. Well, look, if we're talking about exercise, it's something that we need to do. If we're talking about football, look, it's football season, so you definitely got to get on it. I feel good about coming here. Well, I'm glad you do, Tuck Graf. I'm glad that you feel good about being here, and I'm glad that you are here. I'm glad that everybody, has been here. I mean, this is the 4th season of the State of the Saints podcast. We're close to 800 episodes, and I appreciate everybody, that has made this show successful. Don't mess with Damien. Ray, that's awesome, bro. Got my 2.5-year-old here. Yeah, man. I mean, I like the fact that, man, y'all know, man, for some of y'all been following this show from the beginning, man. Y'all know that Paxton, it has popped up every now and then. And I like the fact that I can sit him on my lap, saying if he wants me, at that particular time, and I can be able to do the show and don't have to worry about, oh, I said this, I said that, I mean, I like that, I like the fact that, when my son get older and he starts to understand about broadcasting and radio and stuff like that, like he comes into my studio, comes into my office, and, he puts the headphones on, he's talking behind the mic and stuff like that. It's good to know that once he gets older, he can look at my content and I don't have to worry about, oh, daddy said something that I don't want him to hear, that's the way I look at it. I still think Ted Ginn Jr. would have been a great weapon to pick back up. Drew Brees did him a huge disservice. Swag fan, I kind of disagree with that one. Ted Ginn Jr., I'm not going to lie to you, man. He had some butterfinger for hands. And I just think that the way that Drew Brees delivered the ball to him, I think that it was a perfect match in heaven. I think that the way that Jameis delivers the ball with that velocity, I think that you'll see a lot more drops, because it was the kind of same way with Cam Newton. When Cam Newton was throwing the ball in Carolina, he dropped a lot of passes. So I think that Drew Brees' ability, to get him the ball, I think that's the reason why he had one of his highest catch percentages of his career when he was with the Saints. I think that we have probably been extremely frustrated with him as fans if he would have been here when Jameis was here. I'm watching the highlights of the 308 time. Let's see. How do you feel about Davenport, and do you think Turner will develop well? Look, I like Davenport. He had a pec injury. He's going to be out for a little while. Not as bad as we thought. I think that he's developed, and I think that he's sure of himself, which I seen in that game versus Green Bay. He was extremely disruptive in a run as well as in the pass. As far as Peyton Turner is concerned, I like what I heard about him. I like to see it on the field in real time. The fact that he didn't play in preseason, the fact that his first game could possibly be week 2 versus Carolina in a real situation kind of bothers me. But I think that he is the part. But these guys got to stay healthy. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact of how Cam Jordan spoiled us as fans. Like Cam Jordan has spoiled us as fans because he never misses games. And as you know, as that defensive end, we expect everybody to be like Cam Jordan. Just like when it comes to the quarterback play, we've been spoiled by Drew Brees. We expect nothing but the best as far as the quarterback play. So, you know, I think that's the Cam Jordan effect when it comes to the defense. Anthony says Stills is a great addition, but Winston will throw the interception. Let's hope not. Well, look, he didn't throw an interception last week. He had 5 touchdowns. So I don't like that type of I don't think I like that type of negativity. Like I said before, I understand that he's going to throw interceptions. That just comes with the territory. Every quarterback, no matter how great you are, you're going to throw some picks. But let's just hope that he can, lower the number of interceptions that he has. But I just think that Jameis played really, really well, and I think that he's going to be good in the Saints uniform. The way Jameis Winston is playing, who? Let's see. Kyle Hurd goes for shock value. He talked. Yeah, I mean that's just the route. Like that's the route that a lot of radio personalities that are extremely successful go. For some apparent reason, people like those type of individuals. You think about some of the best radio personalities of all time, they always had this level of shock value. It's never a guy that, tells it like it is, but doesn't have that, shock value. It's always the Howard Sterns. It's always the Petey Greens. It's always the Don Imuses. It's always the Charlemagne the Gods. It's always people like that are the ones. Rush Limbaugh. It's always those type of individuals that make a lot of money because they're controversial. And a lot of people follow that blueprint. I choose not to. Now, if you were to ask me, TJ, can you be that type? Yes, I could. But I wouldn't like what I would see in the mirror. And I don't think that I would be able to maintain that, And I'm pretty sure there's a lane, and a lot of people make a lot of money doing that. And like I said, there's a lot of podcasters out there that follow that format. And, why would you want to follow that format? You're about to get 1,000 upon thousands or even millions of minions just like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you want that? I'd rather just be the first me than the 1 million whoever. Then it says, TJ, do you think Stills plays are? I think I already read that. But Dennis, thank you very much for the $5. Greg says, it's not disrespect to Drew. We were loyal. I think I read that one too. I think I'm still at the certain point. Let me scroll down a little bit. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anybody's. I think I missed Ghostface. Ghostface says, hey, TJ, just hope all is cool with us. I know you don't read my super chats anymore. Didn't know if I said something wrong or something. No, Ghostface, not at all, man. Like, I do apologize for that. Kenny Steels, thank you very much for the $2. Says, y'all fools need to quit confusing me with cooks. No, man, not at all, Ghostface. I don't have an issue with you at all, man. I mean, the thing about it is, when I'm looking at these, comments, because y'all know how I do it, man. I appreciate the super chats, but I try to read everybody's comments, and sometimes, I will be, like the comments will throw up so fast, and I only can get to a certain point, and I can't read everybody's super chat, but it's nothing personal. And I appreciate all the support that you give, man. You know that, Ghostface. Always. 615 Random Ghost says, fun fact, since Sean took over in 2006, the Saints are fourth in points scored by tight ends. It's clear Peyton knows how to use tight ends in the offensive scheme. Yeah. And not to mention, you know how to develop tight ends too. Jawan Johnson, who was skeptical about playing tight end, might have been his, the best thing that ever happened to him. Dennis says, TJ, the best host. Who that? Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss no super chats before I go back into the comments. I see Kenny Steels, Ghostface, and I think I'm straight with the super chats. But Ghostface, no, man, not at all. Sometimes, like I said, the comments, sometimes the comments just be rolling and stuff like that, and I just miss them. TJ, are we spoiled, or do you think we have exact standards based on the decade of success? Well, I think that kind of flows together, Keno. The spoiledness comes from the decades of success. It's the whole changing of the narrative thing. Like Drew Brees, Sean Payton has helped change the narrative of how we look at Saints football. If you were a Saints fan in the 90s, you were just hoping that the Saints will win on Sunday. Now it's like playoffs or bust. Super Bowl aspirations. That is what we're on right now. So yes, we are spoiled as fans, but that comes with success. When you're successful, people expect for you to do successful things. Like if you're a millionaire, people expect for you to have that big yacht, that big house, that Bentley. You know what I'm saying? Like they expect you to have these things, you know what I'm saying, to prove your worth. When you're a good football team, people want you to prove that you're a good football team. That's just the way that it goes, man. I mean, I don't make the rules, and neither do you. But yeah, there is a level of Saints fans being spoiled. Brady time coming, trust me. Yeah, like hey, look, Father Time is undefeated. There were a lot of things there in place for Tom Brady, and Tom Brady is a great quarterback, but it's only a matter of time, man, before, it's only a matter of time before he fall off too, I mean, but you got to respect the longevity. Jordan says, yo, TJ, how do you feel about the Saints secondary? I think we're easily top 5 secondary in the league. Jordan, that's a good question right there. And I got a clip right here, man. We got Bradley Roby. Now, some of you know that the Saints made a trade for Bradley Roby, moving him from the Texans to New Orleans. He got traded. Of course, he was serving a suspension, and last week he was ineligible to play. Well, today, if you're looking at this show on a Wednesday, it was his first day of practice, and this is what Bradley Roby said when he found out that he got traded to the New Orleans Saints. Check it out.
First reaction, I was happy, man. Like, as soon as I heard the Saints, I just thought about, like, all the guys I know here, guys I'm close with. I train with in the offseason, Mike Thomas, Marshawn, Alvin. I'm kind of with those guys a lot in the offseason. So as soon as I heard that and heard the Saints, I was just like, man, what a blessing, because, we're playing for something here. And it's not that Houston's not playing for anything. It's just, it's just different level right now, in my opinion. So just for me to be at this point in my career, going to my 8th year, I won a Super Bowl before, and I've just been trying to get another one, like, real bad. So as soon as I heard this, I was like, man, hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so as you can see, man, he was excited about it. I mean, look, I think we all have to come to grips at the fact that the New Orleans Saints love Ohio State players. This is yet another Ohio State player coming to the New Orleans Saints, and he'll fit in because he knows most of the guys here. He knows Jason Verrett, Nick Verrett. I say Jason Verrett. Shouts out to Jason Verrett. I think he tore his ACL out for the season with the 49ers. So shouts out to that brother. But anyway, Nick Verrett, Michael Thomas, Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, he knows these guys, man. I mean, the Ohio State ties. And he's excited, man. And he's embracing the moment, being with the New Orleans Saints, knowing that by him just doing his job, it will lead to success down the stretch. And I think that it would be a good 1-2 punch, because Lattimore and him played together and they hang out in the all season, and they're good friends. So, it's just something about wondering, can you be good? Wondering if you can be a good team versus going to a good team. And I just think that he's excited to be here. Let's see. I doubt it, Ghostface. I don't know. Nah, not at all, man. Once again, man, I apologize to Ghostface. Nah, it's nothing like that. Terrio says, TJ, I see the sleep all in your eyes. Nah, man, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. Just been a long day. Man, y'all know, I'm working at WLGI, do my production stuff. I did a live show today. and also you're just being a partner and stuff like that. But at the same time, man, I'm excited about being here. You know, I wouldn't like honestly, I wouldn't be doing the show right now if I knew for a fact that I couldn't give it my all. That's just not how I operate. Katrina says Stills did pretty good for the Texans. I am glad to see him back. Yeah, he did a good job for them and for Miami. You know, I mean, the whole Miami situation was because the Texans wanted Laramie Tunzel. You know what I'm saying? Like, so of course, you know what I'm saying, he was a part of that package deal to bring Laramie Tunzel, the left tackle, from Miami to Houston. So, you know, it wasn't no fault of his. It was just the fact that, you know, that's what the Texans wanted. And that's what Miami was willing to give for him. So, yeah. Jameis looked like he really don't want to throw an interception, and that's a good thing. Well, I don't think no quarterback want to throw an interception. If he does, he don't want to be in the league for very long. Roy says, what are your key matchups against Carolina? Look, the key matchups to me are the wide receivers. Can they be able to get space and get open in order to stop and neutralize the defense of the Carolina Panthers? You know, that would be my key matchups. Can Marquez Callaway get past Dante Jackson? Can, you know what I'm saying, like, can, you know, is JC Horn all he cracked up to be? You know, can some of these receivers like have big days against Carolina? Don't really have too many key matchups because Carolina's they're such a young football team. They're so young, you know, so he just is the Saints executing. You know, everybody was writing you off. Everybody was saying that you wasn't good. Everybody was saying, oh, man, Drew Brees going. Y'all not going to be everything that everybody's saying that you're going to be. You know, can you replicate what you did last week against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers? But right now, I want to mention the sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. I want to give a special shout out to MyBookie, one of the newer sponsors of the State of the Saints podcast. Says the NFL is back in action, and so is winning season at MyBookie. With over $500,000 in contest prize money, winning season makes the big game better and the victories even sweeter. Head to mybookie.ag, that's mybookie.ag, and choose from a variety of boost contests and promotions up for grab, highlighted by a crown jewels of winning season and Fame MyBookie Super Contest. It only costs $10 to enter. Pick 5 games against the spread each week and earn your points. And each point gets you closer to the grand prize. If you miss out on week 1, don't even sweat it because entries are still open and it takes 1 solid week to get back in the mix. Don't just take my word for it. Join the start of the winning season with MyBookie today. In order for you to start, make sure your first deposit is at mybookie.ag and use the promo code SOS. Once again, SOS to instantly receive double your deposit. That's double your money to double your winnings with the first ever deposit using a promo code SOS. So thank you very much to mybookie.com for sponsoring the State of the Saints podcast, and make sure y'all use the promo code, you know, for mybookie.ag. All right, check them out. Back to the chat. Stroll down a little bit. That's who that nation says it's going to be hard for teams to throw down the field on the Saints defense. Yeah, the way they looked last week, you know. But I mean, we can easily say, oh man, Aaron Rodgers, man, they did that to Aaron Rodgers. And that's so positive, right? Aaron Rodgers is one of the greatest throwers of the football ever. And the Saints shut him down. But man, you got to go out there and prove it every week. You can read your press clippings and stick your chest out and all that kind of stuff there, but that's a recipe for disaster, man. You start reading those press clippings. My goodness, you start reading those press clippings and you're like, man, you know what I'm saying? Like you end up on the losing end. So the Saints got to maintain this level of success. When Davenport is healthy, he's like he is as dominant, if not the most dominant DN the Saints had, but just can't seem to stay fully healthy to validate his dominance. Yeah, it's unfortunate because he was having a really good training camp. He was having a really good training camp, and he was having a really good preseason, but it just happens. It just happens. Man, some people never get hurt. And then there's those individuals that are really good and they always seem to get hurt. They seem to always get hurt. I hope not, Chemo. I love this show. Man, Ghostface, like I said, man, I don't have not one issue. Like I said, it has a lot to it just has to do with the comments, and strolling by really fast. Has absolutely nothing to do with, how I feel about you as a person. It ain't even about donations. It's just about you being here. Saying that means a lot, because you can choose so many other things you can do with your time. TJ, who starts at defensive end in the place of Davenport? I'm going to say Carl Granderson. I would say Carl Granderson, and Peyton Turner will probably be in that rotation. Tramal says Game 7 is when we go from Mario to Super Mario. Brandon, good question. I honestly think he won't throw for that many because of our offense is a lot more balanced. Let's see. Brandon says, I think Sean Payton was conservative in his play calling on Sunday. I think he will open things up. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it had a lot to do with the fact that Sean Payton was just trying to, kind of ease Jameis into the playbook. And I can understand that. But now he can see that Jameis can make some of the throws. I think that he's going to open it up as time goes on. Because the Saints' offensive playbook is very complicated and very complex. You don't want to just bombard a guy, right? You want to kind of ease him into it. So I think that had a lot to do with it. Josh says, let's see, you got good reason to be concerned. You should have heard all the spec TJ was talking about you the other night when you wasn't on. Hey, I'm a mod. Yeah, Josh, yes, you are, man. You are one. I'm just proud of the Saints not having pass interference call. That man, William, what are you talking about, man? For real. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. The Saints, the technique last week was absolutely immaculate. Like usually early in the season, see a lot of pass interference call from the Saints. So to know that they're fundamentally sound this early in the season, got to be optimistic. TJ, no harm, but that Puerto Rico trip been over with that iron. Damn that what I love lifting weights, big facts from your fellow New Orleanian. Yeah, man. I mean, I ain't never got off it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never got off it. I still, been lifting weights and stuff like that. Still been doing the same thing. So ain't nothing changed too much when it comes to my exercise regimen. Jameis threw for 148 yards and scored 5 touchdowns. Peyton is smart enough to reduce throw volume and avoid interceptions, in my opinion, yet still managed to get plenty of touchdowns and wins. I like it. Yeah. You want to ask your quarterback to go out there and make the throws when it's absolutely necessary. And you know that you have a quarterback in Jameis that can throw the ball all over the place if they're down. He can do that. He can, because he did it so many years in Tampa. So having him manage the game and make the throws that need to be made, and you combine that with a really good running game, it's a recipe for success. Let me see. Green Bay doubled Marquez a lot, which shows respect that they have for him. Thank you, Cries. Giving a shout out to Bobby. Position by position, this might be the most talented and deep team the Saints ever had in my tripping, TJ. Look, I won't say you tripping. You're entitled to your opinion, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna disagree with you. Because I think last year they had a really deep roster. It was a roster that was a recipe for success. If you want to talk about them having a deep roster, it has a lot to do with the development of the team, because they got a lot of young players on this team this year. I think last year they had one of the deepest teams. They just didn't get the ultimate goal. Let's see. I Love Sports Podcast. He was being guarded by Jair Alexander. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the game. No shame in that. He doesn't get the ball thrown his way a lot. I agree with that. You know, Jair Alexander is really good. He's a really solid corner. I think that a little overrated in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I like him. I've liked him since he was at Louisville. You know, I think that he was a really good cornerback. And I wish the Saints would have got him, but he was a little bit too good for them to snatch him up. I like the fact that Jameis Winston didn't try to force anything. He did what people didn't expect, and that pulled the ball down and used his legs, and I was happy to see that. Yeah, and that's a weapon for the New Orleans Saints because you no longer can look at, okay, I'm going to play man coverage because now you have to account for Jameis running with the football. And, I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick or anything like that, but if need be, he can scramble out of pocket and slide. So you have to accommodate for that. TJ, last couple of years, including this year, in my opinion, this team has been a championship team. The only two things that can beat them is injuries in themselves. Yeah, and they've done a lot of that, you know, and it didn't have a lot to do with injuries either. DA. It had a lot to do with them beating themselves in crucial games and playoff situations. They beaten themselves. And I have to say I agree with that, you know. Hopefully this won't be one of those situations if they end up making the playoffs. What up, TJ? Who that? What's going on, Jay Snag? Larry said Traquan is beginning to look like a liability than an asset. Well, if you're talking about a liability as far as him not being on the field, being injured, and us counting on him because he knows more of the playbook than others, then I absolutely agree. A liability? No. I don't consider him as a liability because when he plays well. Just the fact that he's out of the lineup makes us frustrated with him. And also, I mentioned this a couple shows back, is the expectations that we have for Traquan Smith. We expected him to be that number 2 receiver. We expected him, and Michael Thomas was to be out to be that leading receiver. And he's not that guy, you know, and it doesn't mean that he's not a good receiver. It just means that our expectations about him made us believe that he's better than what he actually is. And that's not to say that he was bad, but I just think that we had elite good aspirations for him. Because what are you actually saying when you say a wide receiver is a number 2 receiver? What are you actually saying? What you're saying is that guy is good, borderline elite, right? When you looked at the Falcons, you had Julio Jones, who was the elite receiver. And then you had Calvin Ridley, who was good, borderline elite. When you look at a number 2 receiver, that's what you look at. I never looked at that when it came to Traquan Smith. Once again, no disrespect to him, but I don't consider Traquan Smith as a good borderline elite receiver. I look at him as a solid receiver, average at best. If you need a third down, I'll throw it to him. If you need, you know what I'm saying, some extra yards, I'll throw it to him. But taking over a game, putting it in the hands of him, crucial situations, crunch time. I'm not looking for Traquan Smith. I'm not. I have never looked for Traquan Smith in that regard. Maybe sustaining drives, maybe blocking for Alvin Kamara on a halfback toss or stretch, maybe 3rd and 5, maybe a 3rd and 12, maybe in the back of the end zone when your primary receiver is covered. Yes. But as far as him, Michael Thomas is hurt, man, Traquan about to go off. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can find out those type of receivers within the first 2 or 3 years of the league when they come into the league. The first 2 or 3 years they come into the league, you can find out what type of receiver that is. Like, we knew Michael Thomas was coming. For real. You looked at him his rookie season, when you seen him catch that pass in the back of the end zone against the 49ers, you're like, okay, man, this dude going to be the truth. You saw him coming. You saw the emergence of a Michael Thomas. Marcus Colston rookie season, you saw the emergence of Marcus Colston. You're like, okay, man, this dude going to be good for the Saints. You see little nuances of these guys, and you're like, okay, man, this guy's going to be special. I never saw that in Traquan. All I seen was solid across the board. Maybe one game against the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2018 when he went over 100 yards. That's like the only game. I don't even count that Redskin game. They were the Redskins at the time, not the football team. When Drew Brees broke that record, I don't even count that 100 yards. I mean, nobody was really on him when he ran for those 60 yards. So I don't expect Tre'Quan Smith to be that good borderline elite receiver. I just think that we just need to lower expectations for what Tre'Quan Smith actually is, man. You know, I mean, I'm just being real. Like, some of us got these high aspirations for Tre'Quan, and man, he has not lived up to it. I mean, it's not a knock on CT Crusher. Thank you very much for the $1. Appreciate that. Let's throw back up. I think somebody donated again. And Dennis says, thank you for the $5. Says, night, y'all. Much love. Who that? Yeah, we about to wrap it up in a minute. I'm gonna read a few more comments, then I'm gonna get up out of here. Saints 01 says Winston decision makes him pick apart defenses. In my opinion, Winston will shine and will be up there for that MVP. Okay. I think that he did really good at making decisions this last game, but I'm taking it a game at a time. Will he be there in the MVP race? That remains to be seen. I'm not gonna go that far. What are they saying about those with Rona? Those are some offensive players. I mean, not offensive players, offensive coaches. And I think Michael Thomas is like the only player that I've heard, which we know that Michael Thomas can't play till like after week 6. So no harm, no foul there. But the offensive coaching staff, they've been working with the team remotely, which they've been asking the team to do. And I guess they're going to go from there. TJ, for the Saints to be in the salary cap hell, they did a good job on the roster moves, and they have made. Yeah, because that's the recipe for what a good team actually does. A good team goes out there, they do their due diligence, and they bring in players that can mesh well in the locker room and also do a good job on the field. And they've done a really good job at doing that. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that. No doubt about it. Kim says, man, I would check into the Panthers pod with the hollering cat man. So disrespectful on there. That's why I love it here. We give props when it's due to the opposing team. Yeah, man. I mean, with that Big Cat, if I'm not mistaken. Shout out to Big Cat. I mean, I ain't got no problem with it. I was on a podcast with him. I want to say I was on there with a Real Talk Perez, and he was like one of the guests on the show. I have an issue with shows where I go on of the rival team and they just want to talk about, oh, y'all suck. Oh, man, like, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I understand you don't like the Saints, right? If it's an NFC South show, I can understand you don't like the Saints. But I do want to pay homage to teams that are good. You know what I'm saying? Like, when B-Mac was on the show, and I encourage those that didn't check out the interview with Brian McFadden, when he was on the show, he talked about Tampa Bay, you know what I'm saying, being a good team. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm saying? They are a good team. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to knock them because I want them to lose when they play the Saints. I mean, a blind man can see that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a good football team. But I just think that delusional podcaster, not saying that that's who Big Cat is or any other podcaster, but the delusional podcasts out there that just, you know what I'm saying, drink the Kool-Aid of the team and don't look at nothing objectively. I just think that that's boring podcasting. And you're doing a disservice to your viewers, you know, for you to be blowing smoke up their behinds. Because regardless if you tell them what they want to hear, there's somebody out there that listening to your podcast and they're like, man, that dude full of crap. So got to be careful with that. It's okay to be a homer. You made that podcast because you are a homer, but be objective. Ghostface, thank you very much for $5. Said TJ, can we give I be ripping him a fart emoji instead of a wrench? I wish I could. You know, I wish I could give him a fart emoji, but he definitely deserves one, man, and definitely gives us the humor that we need, man. Charles says, I think Jameis throws for 300 plus this week. Big game coming for AK and Callaway. I hope so, man. Both of those guys are really good, man. Thank God for Alvin Kamara, man. Alvin Kamara is special. Like Alvin Kamara, the type of player he is, comes around, man, once in a decade, 2 decades. Like, he reminds me like of Marshall Faulk on steroids. Like Marshall Faulk was the same type of player, but Alvin Kamara like Marshall Faulk on steroids. And that's the best compliment I can give him. TJ, I expect this will be a great game. Are you going 24-31 Saints way? I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet. I mean, they still got some tickets out there right now. It's not a sold out affair. So I might. I'm still on the fence about that. Got some financial commitments. My wife, I think the following week, we're supposed to go out of town. Her best friend is having a wedding out there in Alabama. So just thinking about that, man, from a financial standpoint. Hey, TJ, no harm. I'm always on you about working out. Just big dog. Let's see what I do. Yeah, I understand that, man, and I appreciate that. Working out is like very, very important, and man, although, a lot of people deal with like underlying health issues out there, and working out is very, very beneficial to their health. So I appreciate that, man, and thank you, and stay on me about that. It's motivation. We can motivate each other. I'm gonna read a few more, then I'm gonna get up out of here. Charles says, "What's your score prediction this week?" Charles, I get to that later on in the week when I do my prediction show. Alvin Kamara is what we wish Ricky Williams would be. Jason, I've never looked at Ricky Williams to be that, because there's a new type of running back in the league, and I think that Ricky Williams wasn't, the part of that, right? He came in during a time where teams were still looking for that running back to run between the tackles and be that smash mouth. When you start to look at what the greatest show on turf did with the St. Louis Rams with Kurt Warner and Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, and when you start to see guys like that, Ricky Prohl, that's when like teams were like, okay, man, I can throw the ball out the backfield with Marshall Faulk, because Marshall Faulk was like something that teams didn't see. You know what I'm saying? Like a running back that can catch like a receiver, like that's uncharacteristic. Now it's like in modern day NFL, it's like if you can't catch the ball out the backfield, most likely you ain't about to be no starting running back. So I think he fell into that last tier of 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Jason. But it's a new day and age. Ramsey says, "Hey TJ, is Roby an upgrade from Jackrabbit?" It remains to be seen. I wish I can answer that question for you. I wish I could, but I cannot. I cannot. The Titans running back is definitely smash mouth, but I'm forgetting his name. Derrick Henry is his name. Derrick Henry. And finally would be Hoodie Jube. Hoodie Jube says, "Thoughts on us being and former Chiefs Austin Reuther." Let me see. I thought Ruiz and Throt held it down and didn't miss a beat, but I'm not showing, and depth is great to have these days. Hoodie Drew, that's a good question right there, and that's a good point. I was very concerned when Eric McCoy went out. Even though Cesar Ruiz played center throughout his whole entire college life, and also I want to say since sophomore in high school, he did a really good job, man. He was playing guard. And I was concerned about how he was going to look at the center position. But if I'm showing, I'm keeping him there. And I'm using Throt, you know what I'm saying? I'm using Throt there, or I'm using Reuther at the guard position, because Caesar looked really good. Like they was running, they ran well. I don't feel like he affected the offensive line. I think that they had a good mesh in that. But I do understand, Hoodie Jupe, that they need depth at that position, because you need that guy that can rotate in and out. Now, I assume Will is still here. Will Clapp I'm referring to. So Will Clapp probably, you know what I'm saying, will be a part of that rotation. But I would leave Caesar at the center position. And This might end up being a blessing in disguise. I'm being serious. This might end up being a blessing in disguise because if the Saints keep Cesar Ruiz at center, his primary position, if Eric was to come back, maybe Eric can get shifted over to guard the way that they wanted it to be in the first place. They wanted Eric McCoy to be a guard. And I'm pretty sure he probably would have been a guard last year if all that nonsense didn't happen with COVID. So this might be a blessing in disguise for Sean to take this opportunity to put Caesar in his primary position. So when Eric comes back, you can shift him over to the guard position. And if you do that, then I think that both guys will be way more comfortable at that position because Eric McCoy, who is extremely smart, Cesar Ruiz, who is extremely smart and has made strides for what everybody has been saying about him, I think that it would be beneficial to the Saints. So unfortunately, Eric McCoy, who is a really good offensive lineman, is going to be out probably for a while dealing with an ankle injury. This might be beneficial to Cesar Ruiz to get some snaps at the center position. So when Eric comes back, maybe Caesar can finally stay there and be that primary center, and Eric can be the primary guard, and those guys can be that 1-2 punch. Because I don't know if Landon Taylor is going to be there, the rookie out of Kentucky. I don't know if he's going to be at the tackle position if the Saints can't play Tyron Armstead. Ramczyk is going to be there. Andrews P still got a couple more years on his contract. So, hey, I ain't hating what I see, man. It's a very young, hungry offensive line, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I really do appreciate it. Thank you to Manscaped, the official sponsor of the State of the Saints podcast. Use the promo code State of Saints, and you will save 20% off of your purchase. And also, special thank you to MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Check them out. If you're into fantasy football and making a little bit of money, use the promo code SOS. And tomorrow on the State of the Saints podcast, we will have special guest Ross Jackson. And on Friday, we'll have my guy Mike Ricks from the Carolina Panthers. He does a Carolina Panthers podcast, a good friend of mine. Back in the day, NFC South versus NFL, if you were following me during that time, he will be on the show. Also, man, check out, I will be on 103.7 The Game with RP3, Raymond Parch III. On Friday morning. I'm on there every other Friday on 103.7 out there in Lafayette, Louisiana. Thank you to everybody that supports the State of the Saints podcast. Remember to subscribe, hit that like button on your way out. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. Follow me on Twitter at TJJones8, TJAY Jones8. Really do appreciate the love and thank you for all your support. If I didn't read your comment, I apologize. If I didn't read your donation, I definitely apologize. Shouts out to you. Charge it to my head and not my heart. All right. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?